as we get ready to start week 2 in the NBA, I'm going to get you ready, prepped, so to speak, to make the right moves. Michael Bolton, prep time?
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and the worst thing I could think of was going to a place where everybody knows my name. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We're free, and we are available on all platforms. So, like I said, we're here for week 2. We're here to take a look at week 2. We're here to preview week 2. It's a full week, unlike week 1, and I hope you guys are having success in week 1. Later today, we'll have a Sunday streaming show where we talk about specific players for specific categories and for specific points leagues that you can probably add and see how it goes, and maybe that gets you over the line. So let's start. It's a good idea. Let's start. Let's talk about week 2. This is a pretty good week in terms of the quantity of games, in terms of the way that the games are distributed across the week as well. We've got in week 2 here, obviously we're playing every day, which is good. We don't want those days off as we had in week 1. But the only high volume day here is Monday. We've got 11 games on, and then it's 5 on Tuesday. There are 10 on Wednesday. Now, for the vast majority of you, you will be able to find active roster spots on Wednesday, and you won't have to make start-sit decisions. Some of you may, but the vast majority of you will not. So we've got 11 Monday, 5 Tuesday, 10 Wednesday, 4 Thursday, 8 Friday, 6 on Saturday, and 8 on Sunday. It's pretty perfect. So now we've got that decision to make. We have to make the calls. How hard are we streaming? I think the season is a bit of a graph of multiple lines sort of converging. Start of the season, you don't need or want to stream as hard. You want to be more like, what is happening longer term? Is this a 3-week ad for an injured guy? Could this guy have value all season? And then as we get along, as we move further in the season, that longer term value disappears because there's not as much season left. And then you're trying to I need to get games in. I need to go hard on this stuff because how am I finding a guaranteed top 100 player when if I stream my roster spot, the stream spot is a top 100 player? So where obviously week 2 is more streamy than week 1, but it's still not one where you have to go balls out. You can afford to be a little bit more cautious. Wait, and I'm not sure if you're aware of this, some people are panickers. And I wouldn't quite look in a mirror because it might be you. It might be you. People panicking about so much stuff in fantasy at the moment. And the number one piece of advice that anyone playing fantasy can give anyone is just settle down. Just don't panic too much. Oh my God, my player sucks. All right, cool. Let's just wait. I can't believe Mark Williams is not playing on a back-to-back. Really? Can't believe that? You didn't know that was going to happen? It's okay. We knew this. We baked this in. Bad performances happen. Good performances happen. We just need to be a little settled with some of this stuff. So, how does the week actually play out in terms of who is playing what games? We have got the majority of teams playing 15 games. It's a small majority, but it's still a majority. We've got 14 teams that play 3, and we've got our first stinker of a week with a 2-game week for the Clippers. I don't think I'm going to read off the names of the teams that play 15 games because it's just a list of names, and if you're listening audio-wise, you're not writing them down, are you? And if you're watching on video, you can see them. But it is important to note that we've got 15 teams playing 4 games, 14 teams playing 3 games, and 1 team, the LA Clippers, playing 2 games. But as always, it does become, it is important that there are some 3-game teams that'll be as useful as 4-game teams, because we've got the Monday when there are 11 games on. So a 4-game team that includes a game on Monday is about the same value for streaming as a team that plays 3 games but doesn't play on Monday, because they're going to have 3 usable games. So, when you're thinking about how to plan that out or how to value these teams, it's not just about the bulk number of games. Now, if you are playing in a weekly format league where you lock your lineups once a week, then the 4 games do become more important. 4 trumps 3, clearly. But in a daily streaming scenario, a team like Indiana, Miami, Milwaukee, the Knicks, the Wizards, or the Kings, they're basically the same as every 4-game team except the Hornets, because they all play 3 quality games. And that is where importance lies. So let's have a little bit of a look at quality games and streaming value and how we can approach this week before we get into some more of the other quirky things that can happen across the league in week 2. In terms of quality games, like I said, every day for the vast majority of you is considered streamable except for Monday. There's 11 games on Monday. The Charlotte Hornets play all 4 of their games, not including Monday. And interestingly enough, for the second week in a row, the Hornets have a weekend back-to-back. That's a very advantageous schedule for streaming for Charlotte. They are the pick of the teams for this week. They have got the best run of games. So if you are excited about the big cock, Ryan Cockburner, or Moussa Diabate, or you're for some reason caring about Colin Sexton, or you're big into the big Areola Concanipo, this is the week where you're excited about it, where you've got 4 games, where you've got that situation. Now, what we'll also find out on Saturday, Sunday of week 1 is, what do the Hornets do on the back-to-back? Because they've got another one coming up. What does that mean for Ball? Because if Ball sits and then you see Mann or Sexton pop off, well, you're going to be excited about that towards the end of the week, at week 2. But they are the only team that has the 4 quality games. So if we talk about how we approach this from a streaming perspective, again, we are not high prioritizing streaming. We're interested in streaming, but we're not high prioritizing it. You can, if you want, get 6 games out of 1 roster spot using all 4 of your moves. You can't do it another way because of the way the schedule plays out. I mean, you can do it 2 separate ways, but you can't get 6 games from 3 moves. If you want more games, you have to use if you want max games, you got to use all 4 moves. And that the caveat that I will throw in there about that is that if you have if you're streaming in for Sunday, and you can target a team that plays Sunday and Tuesday. And that means you get the bonus Tuesday game, and then you can use 3 moves in week and still get 6 games from that 1 roster spot. Remembering, if that roster spot is occupied by, I don't know, for some reason, you're holding on to Brook Lopez, you might be holding on to Bradley Beal, and you got 2 games out of that roster slot, you can actually turn it into 6. So think to yourself, why am I holding Brook Lopez? Now, I don't know if I'd go that far as what do I do with John Collins? But that might be something. But you can turn 2 into 6. And if I just get my calculator out, that's 3 times as many games. And that is interesting. That is useful. That is glorious. And that is benevolent. So, how do we do it? What's the best way to do it? There are 2 ways to do it. You can look at it and do a Tuesday, Wednesday back-to-back. Single stream Thursday, single stream Friday, and then do the weekend for Charlotte. But that doesn't give you many options. Because there's only one team playing the back-to-back Tuesday, Wednesday, the Kings. There's only one team with the weekend back-to-back, the Hornets. If you do it this way, you get a little bit more variety, a little bit more choice. You can single stream on Tuesday. Pick whoever you want that plays on Tuesday. Then, the Orlando Magic, they play Wednesday, Thursday on the back-to-back. So Jalen Suggs is probably going to sit. So you'll see Wendell Carter be available. You'll see Tyus Jones. You might see Marista Black as an option there as well. Tristan Da Silva's been popping off. I'm not sure he's going to be that. Goga Badadze. But you get 2 games, 1 move. Then you drop that joker and you add someone from either Boston or Indiana because they've got the Friday, Saturday back-to-back. And there's Nemesh Keita. There's Slamming Sammy Hauser. Maybe it's the Wiki, Chris Boucher. Then you've got Obi Toppin, Ben Shepherd. Hello, Jarris Walker. Aaron Neesmith, perhaps. There's quite a few options there. This gives you 3 teams to choose from, whereas the other method gives you 2. And then on Sunday, just go balls out. Just pick whoever you want for the final game. But remember, that turns 2 into 6. And you can actually, using 4 moves, but if you do a Sunday and Tuesday combination, which I'll show you those teams in a sec, you can get 6 games with 3 moves, which maybe that's the little bit of the thing that you are somewhat more interested in. We'll come back and we'll talk schedule quirks. We'll talk back-to-backs. And then we'll talk weekly leagues and what do you do with the Clippers players and the 2 games there. We'll get to that in a sec. Today's episode, though, it isn't brought to you by this. Janice, I told you to get it fixed. We don't have those things but going wrong. Fix it. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch. Let's be honest, most of us can't even name all of our financial accounts or our unnamed faceless producers, let alone what they're worth. Between 401ks, savings, and investments, it's easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table. That is why you start using Monarch, the all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. You check all of your investments, all of your spending. How much are you spending on a producer that puts the wrong ad up? I don't know, but maybe that's a way that you can save some money. I'm coming for you, Janice. You can check all that stuff on Monarch, combine it with your partner as well, and see what are your goals? Where are you at? How are you tracking your transactions and spending, and where can you make more money? So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That is monarch.com. The code is LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Today's episode is also brought to you by Game Time. With the NBA season officially here, being in the arena to watch the team is awesome. It's fantastic, but getting tickets can be a total headache. You're waiting in queues, you get surprise fees, the prices jump up right before checkout. It's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is get there to cheer on your favorite team, and that is where Game Time comes in, the app that gives the fans the advantage. The ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NBA tickets fast and easy and stress-free. Their zone deals are awesome. It's a game changer. You just pick an area that you'd want to sit in the arena, and it finds the best value ticket for you right there. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. The code is LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. All right, so what are we talking about now? That's right, we are talking about the quirks in the schedule. What are the interesting little things that are popping up for us here in week 2 that we do need to be aware of, and we can maybe just squeeze a little bit of advantage out of it. So there are 2 teams, and one of these will not surprise you, but there are 2 teams that do not play on the weekend of week 2. One of them is the Clippers. They got 2 games. That's pretty normal. The Denver Nuggets also do not play. So the Nuggets have had a pretty rough schedule. They didn't play for the first 2 games of the season. They now have the weekend off in week 2. That means that things will pick up later on, but that's where we're at. There's also a team, Indiana, that again has a late start. They didn't start until Thursday last week. And this week they're the only team that does not play on the first 2 days of the week, which is, of course, Wednesday. So they don't start, Monday, Tuesday. So they don't start until Wednesday. There is a couple of situations where teams also have very light periods. 1 game in 5 nights. Tuesday to Saturday, that's 5 nights. The Brooklyn Nets and the San Antonio Spurs play once over that 5-game period. Now, we saw Michael Porter Jr. and Cam Thomas go off for the Nets last game, and we know that there is, someone said in one of my comments, why can't Porter keep this up? It's not about him keeping it up, but also, all right, game 1 he didn't do it, game 2 he did. So why can't he keep it up? Well, because of that. But secondly, it's about the fact that they are going to sit games. It's about the fact that they're going to have blowouts. And it's about the fact that when you get to fantasy playoffs, different story, when you get to fantasy playoffs, these guys just probably aren't going to be there enough to matter. So that is why I'm against them long term. It's not that I don't think that Michael Porter and Cam Thomas are going to score a lot, or they're going to be pretty good in those little circumstances, because I do think they will be. But it's about how do you, when you've got this everlasting fear of them not playing, or getting limited, or being terrible and then not there at the end of the year. That's why you don't want to go high on them. Anyway, they've got 1 game in 5 nights. What was I trying to get to there? Yeah, look, it's going to be hard to sell high off those guys if they're just not playing. And the Spurs as well, where you talk about maybe a fringy guy like a Julian Champagny or even a Luke Cornett who popped off yesterday. Is he worth holding through 1 game in 5 nights? Probably not. The Clippers, also unsurprising, with only 2 games this week, they have a period at the end of the week where they play 1 game in 5 nights. So your fringe Clippers, that's just the extra little boot in the ass that you might need to get rid of them. The Nets are the only team this week that have a 3-day gap between Thursday and Saturday. So I don't know why I just didn't say Thursday, Friday, Saturday. The Nets just don't play. So if you are very hyped about Yegor, or someone said to me, are you saying it's Yegor? It should be Yegor. Is that better? I don't know. Yegor Dioman, if you've picked up him, 3 days off, is he good enough to hold? I don't think he is. I think he's going to have moments of being solid, but I don't think he's going to be that good that you sacrifice the spot for him. Like Ben Saraf and Zaire Williams and Nick Claxton's probably a hold, barely, but that's not a great period of the schedule for the Nets with those 3 days with no action. What other little quirky things do we have going on? 3 games in 4 nights is always an interesting thing. Remembering, of course, that Monday is a high volume day. If we start on Sunday through to Wednesday, the front of this week is loaded. The back end is empty. Brooklyn, Boston, Cleveland, Dallas, Detroit, the Lakers, Minnesota, Portland, Sacramento, and Toronto play 3 games in 4 nights starting on Sunday. To begin the week, Monday through to Thursday, Golden State, Oklahoma City, and Orlando. Remembering again that Monday is an 11-game day. So when you get to the end of the week, you'll notice that there's just not as many of these games. Between Wednesday and Saturday, 3 teams play 3 games in 4 nights. Boston, Indiana, and Orlando. So if you're wanting to, when we go back to the stream from earlier, if you don't want to use all 4 moves, you can target a Wednesday here perhaps and get 3 games in 4 nights. So you can use a single stream on Tuesday, another stream on Wednesday, and that will get you 4 games, 5 nights, 2 moves, and then you've got Sunday available as well, where you can add your 5th game extra for the week, and you've saved an extra move for capitalizing on somebody else's dumbassery. Thursday to Sunday, the final 4 days of the week, just 1 team plays 3 games. That's our GOATs, the Charlotte Hornets. The back end of the week is very quiet. So, here's a little tip for those of you in the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl. Don't drop Victor Wembanyama, but also another tip is, if you're looking to fill out your 40 games max, 4 per position for the week, do it early. Start to load up early. Now, it's not so that you can't fill it up, because our rosters are pretty big, but the end of the week is quiet in comparison to the start of the week. So don't be afraid to go a little bit above pace early on, because there's just not as many games in the second half of the week, which I think is useful information. What about some more little schedule chunks that we should pay attention to? There are a few teams with 4 games in 6-night runs. Between Sunday of week 1 and Friday of week 2, Boston, Cleveland, Lakers, Portland, and Toronto have 4 games in 6 nights, remembering Monday is included in that. Between Monday to Saturday, these are all 4-game teams, but their week ends on Saturday, enabling you to drop one of their guys and then add an extra on Sunday. It's Boston, it's Golden State, and it's Orlando. But here's where, again, it gets interesting. We know Charlotte's got 4 quality games. We know they play 4 games and they don't play Monday. So from Tuesday to Sunday, they are the only team that have 4 games in 6 nights. It is overload Charlotte. So if you're on the fence about what do I do with Cockbrenner, what do I do with Diabate, you hold. You add and you hold. And then we see what they're able to deliver given this little advantageous run. There is also some situations here. We've got 5 games in 7 nights. In fact, the Boston Celtics. So are you on the fence about holding on to Nemesh Keita, the Pastel de Nata? Maybe you are. But this should be enough to make you go, all right, let's see what happens. 5 games in 7 nights. Hopefully I don't open like Yahoo and look at transaction trends and see that people are dropping Peyton Pritchard, because I'll be like, haha, idiot. All right, hopefully that's not you. I know that's not you. But if you were thinking, I'm going to drop Peyton Pritchard, the first 2 games have been bad, do not do it. Even if you don't believe in regression or you just can't buy into that, this is a guaranteed fact that the Celtics play 5 games in 7 nights. So hold him. You want Sam Hauser? Hold him. You maybe want to consider Chris Boucher. It's a little bit iffier, but 5 games in 7 nights. It is useful. It is very useful, in fact. What about the other side of it? Well, not the other side. 5 games in 8 nights. A little bit more extended, but between Sunday and Sunday. So that's the end of week 1 through the end of week 2. Boston, Charlotte, Cleveland, the Lakers, and Toronto. And then starting Monday of week 2 through to Monday of week 3, 4 teams play 5 games in 8 nights. Boston, again, a lot of Boston references, a lot of Charlotte references. Boston, the Lakers, Memphis, and Utah. Is this the Terry Rozier Memorial Show? A lot of Boston and Charlotte references. But Boston, Lakers, Memphis, and Utah between Monday and Monday. And then we go a little bit longer, just in case you've really got limited moves and you're really preserving things. But if you want to look at 9 nights, who's got 6 games in 9 nights? That's Sunday of week 1 through to Monday of week 3, encapsulating all of week 2, plus, a little bit of edging on the side. Well, it's the 2 best teams in the world, the 2 most storied franchises, the 2 teams with all of these titles, albeit from 70 years ago, but Boston and the Lakers. 6 games, 9 nights. So, again, Nemesh Keita, Peyton Pritchard, Slam and Sammy Hauser. Deeper leagues, maybe you look at Hugo Gonzalez. Lakers, Jared Vanderbilt, Jake LaRavia, Marcus Smart. Who else is there? The Impitsu. Yuri, is that right? Impitsu? Who's that? That's the Japanese pencil. Japanese Harrison Barnes. Rui Hachimura. 6 games in 9 nights for the Lakers. We'll come back in a sec and look at how the back-to-backs shape up, as well as some weekly league stuff as well. Today's episode, though, it is, of course, brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back. It's never been more back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So even if you miss the start of a game or you see something happening in-game and you want to ride that hot hand, FanDuel has live betting from everything for who will score the next basket to fourth quarter comebacks to whatever. It's all there on FanDuel. Plus, you can combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps your knowledge on the toes. It keeps your acumen in watching a game, and you can put it to the test and have some fun. So right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And don't, of course, forget to gamble responsibly. We are here, of course, previewing week 2 in the NBA. And now we're going to take a look at some of these schedule quirks, and we're talking back-to-backs. We're talking about how do we get value out of the back-to-backs. Sunday to Monday, ending week 1 into week 2. Monday's got 11 games though, so this is not the one you want to target. Now, you can tell me your own, well, you don't have to tell me, but you can look at your own individual circumstance and see whether this product is right for you. Boston, Brooklyn, Cleveland, Dallas, Detroit, Lakers, Minnesota, Portland, San Antonio, Toronto play Sunday, Monday. You probably will not use whoever you pick up on Monday. So we skip that. If you go back all the way earlier to Stream Zone, where we talked about if you wanted to, you could get yourself a leg up by doing a Sunday to Tuesday combination, and then you get the rest of the week in turning one of your worst roster spot into 6 games. But you can do this with 3 moves instead of 4. Well, you want to target one of these teams, and you've got 7 options. Charlotte, the Clippers. Yes, the Clippers. They've got a terrible schedule, but they play Sunday, Tuesday. Charlotte, the Clippers, Charlotte, the Clippers, Miami, Milwaukee, New York, Sacramento, and Washington. So if you look at anyone on those 7 teams, you use them on Sunday, win your week, you got them to hold there for Tuesday, and then you move in and do the Wednesday, Thursday, Orlando Magic combo, the Friday, Saturday, Boston or Indiana guy, and then your single Sunday stream. 6 games, 3 moves, maximum winnage. Is winnage a word? I don't think so. But that is also okay. Monday to Tuesday. Again, we don't really care here with 11 games on Monday. Golden State, Oklahoma City, and Philadelphia. Tuesday to Wednesday, there is only one team that has that, and that is your Sacramento Kings. And then this is why, when we're talking about the schedule, it's easy to just target the back-to-backs, but there are some days that don't have them. For example, Wednesday to Thursday has 1. So we've got that Tuesday to Wednesday with 1 team, Sacramento Kings. Wednesday to Thursday with 1 team, the Orlando Magic. Thursday to Friday with 0 teams, which is awesome. It's better for basketball that there are no back-to-backs, but in terms of how we check our streaming, we got to be aware of this. And you'll notice, look at how few back-to-backs there are second half of this week. Friday to Saturday, it's Boston, Indiana, and Saturday to Sunday, it's Charlotte. So between Wednesday and Sunday, the final 5 days of the week, got to count them, final 5 days of the week, we have 4 back-to-backs only in 5 days. That is like unheard of. Don't count on it always happening, but that is incredibly low. 4 back-to-backs total in 5 days. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, you want to go hard early on games because the end of the week, they're just not there. There's just no games on, which is, again, it's great for watching. It's great for fantasy. It's great for the quality of the sport. But it's different to what we usually see. So now what I want to look at is, now normally I would go through and tell you who do I think is going to be in or out or injuries. I don't actually think that that's useful for this show. So I am not going to do that on these weekly preview shows. I think that information gets out of date way too quickly. And there's so much nebulous reporting at the moment. I think it's a waste of my time and your time, honestly. It's better just talking about how the schedule actually looks. But yeah, I'm sure you will disagree, but that's how I think it looks better. So let's go to those of you who play in weekly leagues, which is some of you. It's a small amount of you, but it is some of you. What are we doing? Who are guys who are available in a lot of spots that you can take a look at? I just want to let's quickly mention something. Now, I know that as a joke, I chuck the double onyx, diamond, titanium, platinum graphic up and talk about, oh, my league, it's already added, right? But yeah, I still get people commenting, yeah, you can't talk about this guy, mate. What are you doing? He's been gone for weeks. It's ridiculous. No league had this guy available. Okay, well, okay, he's 30% rostered, so obviously some people have him available. So it's impossible to cater to everybody in this sense. But what I will say is that there's this idea that this Yahoo diamond level situation is like, oh, the best of the best, and they're the ones who know. And you got to, like, some of the stuff that you see in those leagues is honestly insane. It's baffling. They are not the paragons of fantasy excellence. I assure you of that. I assure you of that. Because some of the moves that you see as the best moves, like for example, the beginning of the season, the best, most added Diamond League player was Isaiah Stewart. Cool. Those leagues are not as high level as the status might suggest to you. I'll just leave it there, because you see some of the moves that go down in those leagues, and some of the teams that get drafted and decided, and it's not. This is the way. Yep. They're not saying that they're bad, but it's not. They know more than everyone. Not at all. Some of the people that are in those leagues have no idea what is happening. And I'm not always right, very clearly. We just be aware of that. So let's say this. The weekly ads. These guys are all available in over 65% of Yahoo leagues. Now, Yahoo has screwed up our percentages with good old high score. They've screwed it up with default 10-man leagues. So we're making adjustments. In the past, I would have done 60% or 50%. Now I'm doing 35, and I might actually push this down to 30. And I've given you a deeper cut here as well. But I expect that Jalen Green is out for some, if not most of this week. So he's an ad, and I would start him. I believe that Kobe White is out for this week. So Trey Jones is an ad. Really solid one. Nemesh Keita is like 22% rostered. Was his game last time out good? No. But he is one of half of the league that plays 4 games. He's available in a lot of spots. And I think you could feel okay, you get, like, let's say at least 1 pretty good game. Maybe 2. And given some of your other options who are out there, he does look okay. Quentin Grimes, only 2 games in week 1 for the Sixers. 4 games in week 2. Grimes was not particularly good on opening night for the Sixers. We haven't seen the second game to see how they're going to use him and the dominatrix and how the shots go. That was a weird distribution. But Grimes is solid there. And then the deeper league one, who is playing way more minutes than I thought he would, the Basmati man himself, Royce O'Neal. He's playing like high 20s in minutes, which I don't really know what Phoenix is doing. Being bad is what they're doing, but I don't really get it. But he is playing big minutes, and the schedule is working for him. So when you're talking weekly leagues, a lot of the time you're just like, is Royce O'Neal like good? Like, not particularly. Is he going to be someone that changes your life? Also, he's not Aaron Wiggins, so not likely, right? But Give me 120 minutes of action across a week. Maybe that's too much. Let's say 100 to 110 minutes of action from Royce. A 3-game player off the waiver wire needs to play 33 to 35 minutes to get you that same number, or 37 minutes. How many waiver wire guys are you finding that play 37 minutes to equal the playing time in 3 games? Like, nobody. And again, we don't think that Royce is good, but if he plays 25 minutes a night across 4 games, that's 100 minutes. If a 3-game guy plays 25 minutes, which might be who's on the wire, that's 75 minutes. It's a gigantic difference over the course of a week. It adds up. So it sounds stupid in a deeper, highly competitive league to be targeting Royce O'Neal. But just the fact that you might get up to 120 minutes of action out of him might be enough. And then lastly, like I said, we've got our first true 2-game week this week, and that's the Clippers. So what do you do? What do you do with Kawhi? What do you do with Jim Harden? I'll tell you now, if you're in a 10-team league, I don't think you start either of them. And people are getting pissy that I'm calling it a 130 player league. Like, it's very hard to win all the time. If I say a 10-man league, some people will say, I'm in a 10-man league, but this guy's available. I go, wow, yeah, we have 18-man rosters. Like, okay, cool. I believe the easiest way, so it does capture everything, is just to talk about how many players are rostered. Just a rough idea. So if it's a 130-player roster, it means that anyone who's the 150th best player, probably not that good for you. But I know it's confusing people. So let's do it again. 10-man league, 130 players. 12-man league, 150. 14-man league, 175. 16-man league, 200, roughly. They're just the rough numbers that I'm giving you. If I say a top 200, a 200-man league player, it's a 16-team equivalent standard, basically. But you're in the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl. They're 12-man leagues. That's a 200-player league. So it is different. So in saying that, if you're in a 130-player league, I'm not sure that you would bother starting Kawhi or James Harden. It would be a tough decision, but I'm not sure you would. In a 150-player league, it is very borderline. Like, for example, based on totals for this week, I think Harden for me is 145th and Kawhi is 138th. It doesn't take much to go from 138th to 110th. It might take 2 rebounds over the week. 1 extra rebound a game. That's all it might take. But it's not as absolutely clear-cut with 15 teams playing 4 games that Kawhi and Jim are automatic starts. Everybody else, Zubats, Lopez, Beal, Collins, you do not consider in 10s or 12s. And even in 14s, I wouldn't bother with Zubats. 14s, 175-player league, I wouldn't bother with Zubats. Too much uncertainty. I wouldn't touch Lopez, and I wouldn't use Collins. And I definitely wouldn't use Beal in those scenarios. And that, guys, is the weekly look ahead for week 2. We will have a Sunday preview show coming up, and I look forward to seeing you over there on that one. In the meantime, you can you can hype if you're watching on the YouTube app, and you leave your comments and tell me about your displeasure for me saying 130-player leagues, and tell me that I should go back to 10-man leagues, or tell me about just how good the diamond leagues are. I want to hear all about it. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.